Imagine if Dr. Martin Luther King had lived out another 30 or 40 years.
That day, for no particular reason, I decided to go on a little drive. So I drove to the end of the road, and when I got there, I thought maybe I'll drive to the end of town. And when I got there, I thought maybe I'll just drive across the great state of Florida. For no particular reason, I just kept on going. I drove clear to Lake Ontario. And when I got there, I figured, since I've gone this far, might as well turn and keep on going. When I got to the ocean, I figured since I've gone this far, I might as well turn back and keep right on going. When I got tired, I slept. When I got hungry, I ate. When I had to change the oil, I changed the oil.
Starting out October 3rd, 2025 at the McDonald's here in Arkansas. No, we're in Oklahoma, fixing to be in Arkansas.
Looks like this is Warner, Oklahoma, home of Quinn Jones. Well, whoever Quinn Jones is, we'll have to look him up.
Says he played for the Falcons.
Oh, he played for the Falcons. How do I not know that?
Last rest stop, I-40 East in Oklahoma. Their flags are still at half-mast for Charlie Kirk. Huge props out to them. Time to get on the road, get to Arkansas.
Welcome to Arkansas, home of the Ozarks. Cruising through Van Buren, Arkansas. Of course, you think of the president, Van Buren, but you can't help but to think of the Van Buren boys. Crossing the Mississippi River, going into Tennessee, Memphis, Tennessee. The mighty Mississippi River. And the mighty Mississippi River Bridge connecting Arkansas and Tennessee. This is a part of the video where we're driving into Memphis. We were really thinking about taking two different routes home. And I told my wife, I said, listen, if we go through Dallas, I want to go to the grassy knoll. Then if we went through Memphis, there were two things I wanted to do. I basically wanted to go to the Lorraine Hotel, and then secondly, I wanted to go see all the Elvis stuff. Graceland, Vernon Presley's house, Circle G Ranch. We decided to go to Memphis, and so this is the video of us going to the Lorraine Motel. And as we were driving into Memphis, you just get a kind of like I would call it like a melancholy feeling. You're deep in thought. You kind of know that you're going to the Lorraine Hotel. You know what happened there. I didn't know a lot of the details. And sometimes when you dive deep into something like this, it's very sad and like, man, why did this even have to happen? Dr. King was born in 1929, and you really think about it, 3 years from now is when kids are going to be born in 2029, which is 100 years after that. Think of someone that would have been around almost 100 years now. Some of the things you may remember about Dr. King are, number one, his speeches, and then his house being bombed in Montgomery during the busboy boycott. You had to realize that between 1955 and 1967, he was going hard at it. He was traveling, he was moving, and if you follow his routes, you can say, hey man, how in the world did someone do that? In 1967, he was thinking about taking a sabbatical, and it's debated of where he was planning on going. 1958, he had written a book called Stride Towards Freedom. September 20th, 1958, he was in a department store in Harlem just signing books. And this crazy woman came up and stabbed him, almost killed him within inches. And once he was taken care of and the knife was removed, what it did, it left a scar on his chest in the shape of a cross. And he saw that every morning. He lived in the reality that, hey, today could be my last day. It's always good for people to kind of live in that reality, because the truth is any day could be your last day. He really lived in that reality, and the people who were close around him even said after JFK was taken out, Dr. King told his people around, he said, if they cannot protect him, they can't protect us. And he was right. He also felt like he wasn't going to live to pass age 40, and he did not do that either. So he lived in this reality, and he had this cross on his chest that he saw every day. He said, when I'm brushing my teeth, I see it. The Bible says we all have a cross to carry, and his was a very unique cross, not only here, but just his whole life. Because I really feel like he was appointed and anointed by God to do what he ended up doing. No matter how you feel about him, God used him in a great and a mighty way. And that brings me to a word, cancel. The truth remains is that basically JFK was ultimately canceled. Then Dr. Martin Luther King was canceled. Can't really understand why they wanted JFK gone unless you understand the Bay of Pigs and the Vietnam War. If you really want to understand the last year of Dr. King's life, some of the dynamics that are going on, go back to April the 4th, 1967, and look at the Riverside speech that he gave. That put a tension between Dr. King and his movement and the American government, mainly President Johnson, which our lives would have been a whole lot better without Johnson. That's all I'm going to say about that. That will give you some understanding. I'm encouraging you to go back and listen to this man's own words. Then, if you go and look at what they were writing about him and saying about him, hey, a light should click on is that, hey, these guys did not like him. They really didn't like his message, and they didn't like the influence that he had on people. Much like Charlie Kirk, and that just happened, last year. I'm filming this in 2026, but this video when I went to the Lorraine Hotel was in October 2025. So now the big question is, who killed Dr. King? Everybody was telling you that James Earl Ray. I will be the first one to tell you that James Earl Ray was a shady individual. Yes, he did get out of prison. Yes, he robbed places. However, when you start looking at everything, I come to the same conclusion that Dr. King's family came to, is that this guy didn't do it. He was just at the wrong place at the wrong time. He was directed to that place, and then just all his stuff was left at the bottom of the building like, okay, I'm going to shoot somebody, and now I'm going to leave all my stuff right here with fingerprints all over it. It just smells like a setup. Whether you believe James Earl Ray did it or the infamous Raoul Lloyd Jowers was another name that I think of, that just when you start doing a deep dive in this, is that people saw him with a gun that was smoking. but his store probably was used. And that's why I encourage you, when you go to the Lorraine Hotel, is go one block over and look at the stores where the person who ended up shooting Dr. King, they entered through one of these stores, and there's a little museum right there, and they have James Earl Ray's gun with his fingerprints on it, which they could not conclude without a reasonable doubt that, like the King family says, is that we really didn't get justice. Later on, Lloyd Jowers was found guilty. That just kind of shows you that there's a lot to be debated here and looked into, and I encourage you to do that. Ultimately, we can all agree to the fact that this was a sad day in the history of the United States, that our culture had become a council culture to the point that they removed JFK, then Dr. Martin Luther King, then Robert Kennedy, and in 2025 now Charlie Kirk. It's just sad. I will say this, if you do a deep dive into JFK being taken out and then Dr. Martin Luther King being taken out, there's a lot of parallels when you look at what was going on behind the scenes and the group of people that was moving to do this. Now, when you look at Dr. Martin Luther King and Charlie Kirk, there's a parallel with their messages and the influence they were having on a huge group of people in our culture. I would compare Dr. King to Charlie Kirk in that sense, is that he was a powerful speaker, he could dialogue with people, and he was influencing people, and it was a movement. I compare him and Charlie Kirk that way, but I compare Dr. King and JFK in the shadiness behind the scenes and the people that were used and the control that the people in power had to make this happen. So I would encourage you someday to do a deep dive in that, because most of the time we just get a couple of little paragraphs in our history books, and there's a lot more there to be learned and to expand your mind on what went on behind the scenes in those. This is the time I usually say, well, I hope you enjoyed that video. I really hope that you didn't enjoy this video. I hope more that this video will make you think and make you research and do a deep dive. And then also, I hope that this video will make you go back and listen to Dr. Martin Luther King's speeches and like, why did they hate him so much? The enemy hates the truth, no matter what form or fashion it comes in, whether it's for your health, for your mental health, for your spiritual health, for your body, mind, spirit, whatever. The enemy hates the truth. Dr. King was speaking truth to the American people. So go back and listen to the man's own words. And I would say the same thing about Charlie Kirk. Go back and listen. I call him like a kid because, I mean, for me, being over a half century old, he was like a kid to me, even though he was a grown man. But man, listen to that guy's message, and he was brilliant. In fact, if you disagreed with him, he would bring you to the front of the line and allow you to talk to him and dialogue with him. And that was his heart, is that we would talk and dialogue. Go back and listen to Charlie Kirk. I'm glad that all these little shorts and reels are out there for him. I hope AI doesn't mess them up or try to tweak them, and that you miss the heart of that man. And I hope you don't miss the heart of Dr. King. You have to really go back and see what JFK really thought about us going into the Vietnam War to understand he was a man of peace. He really felt like that we could talk this out. Man, just imagine if JFK had stayed the president. All those people that went down in Vietnam would have still been with us. And that's why this video is so sad, is you think about, what if JFK would have lived? You know that song Imagine by John Lennon? Imagine if JFK had lived. Imagine if Dr. Martin Luther King had lived out another 30 or 40 years. Imagine if Charlie Kirk was still alive. What would the United States be like? What would this world be like? Thanks for being here. Peace out.